9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name's Chris Hand. The last thing Mason said to me before I turned my mic on was, I don't know what's wrong. I love it. I'm here for it. We've had quite a few days. Quite a few days. I'm still kind of in shock. Do you feel like this? Like you're still trying to process what happened? Yesterday, I felt like I was in a daze most of the day, having only slept, 3 or 4 hours, and just kind of walking around being like, is this real life? Like, you feel like one of those kids in the videos after they have their wisdom teeth taken out. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what happened?
What is this high that I'm riding right now, and is it real?
Yeah. But it's real, all right. And it just keeps getting better and better for Donald Trump. Last night, Arizona, Nevada coming in. The score, 312 to 226.
Wow.
Landslide.
Wild.
Landslide. All right, so Joe Biden, I'm hearing, is going to be speaking around 10 a.m. our time. We'll go to it live.
Yeah, we'll try and find it without CNN butting in, trying to cut people off, which actually, it's Joe Biden, so they probably won't.
Well, unless they feel like they need to save him from himself.
Yeah.
If that's the case, they may butt in.
You know what I need for that? I need him coming out wearing that MAGA hat that he took that one video.
I hope he does. I hope he does.
Amazing.
There's stories out. Joe Biden, he's talking to Trump. He called him. He's invited him back to the White House to begin the transition of power. Golly, doesn't that feel cool? I'm just pumped about it. He did release a statement after the election, and they covered that on MSNBC.
President Joe Biden releasing his first statement on the election, saying Harris has been a tremendous partner and public servant full of integrity, courage, and character. She stepped up and led a historic campaign that embodied what's possible when guided by a strong moral compass and a clear vision for a nation. He has also reiterated his support for a peaceful transition of power and an offer to meet with President-elect Trump.
So nice. So nice. Have you noticed online that the conversation has been dominated by the disparity in number of votes from 2020 to 2024? Have you seen that? Even liberals going, did we steal 2020? I've seen that all over the place on Twitter and on Reddit. Liberals, salty liberals going, how did we just, have 20 million votes evaporate from 2020 to 2024? Isn't that a little weird? Isn't that a little strange? Did we actually steal 2020? Well, I hope and I pray that gets investigated the right way, the way it should have been investigated from day one. I hope so. The Kamala campaign was, we're not going back. I hope they do go back, and I hope they investigate it. Because a lot of the questions that we had about 2020, still unanswered. Still no reasonable explanation. Hopefully we can get some answers from that. It is interesting, though, to see the leftists waking up. It is. Yesterday, the big news coming out was Kamala Harris. She's going to give a speech. She's going to concede. And it was, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. It's the best speech I ever heard Kamala Harris give. It was. It was. My wife said to me, you just have positivity bias because you're floating because Trump won. And I said, I don't know. I do. I think that this was one of her best speeches.
So let me say, my heart is full today. My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but
the majority of people voted for it, though. The overwhelming majority.
Hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up And as long as we keep fighting.
You got to fight. You got to fight. Kamala Harris. And there was 30, maybe 40 people in attendance that were where they were very much with her. She kept going, though. She did concede the election officially. And it was music to my ears. Maybe this is why I like the speech so much.
In our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States.
Kind of forgot about that for 3.5 years.
And loyalty to our conscience and to our God.
I thought we were at the wrong rally.
My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. The fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people. A fight for the ideals at the heart of our nation, the ideals that reflect America at our best. That is a fight I will never give up.
Never give up. Never surrender. Kamala Harris. It wasn't a bad speech. It wasn't earth-shattering. It felt like they were trying to deliver some jabs to the Republican Party, especially here when she said, I'm going to accept the results of this election. It's like, okay, all right, got it.
Now, I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it. But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition.
Did you hear the crowd booing her? They're so salty and so upset. Maybe this is another reason why I liked it so much. We got to accept the results. The crowd is upset. How could you not like this speech?
And that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
Peaceful. That's a J6 jab if I've ever heard one.
A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results.
Unless you're Hillary, then you can talk about Russia for 4 years. Unless you're Stacey Abrams. I think she still hasn't conceded Georgia from, how many years ago was that? We got to accept the results, guys.
That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny. And anyone who seeks the public trust must honor it. At the same time, in our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, again, where was that for 3.5 years? The Constitution that you have to, you got to protect your own citizens, right? You left the southern border completely unsecure. You forced people to get a vaccine or they weren't allowed to work. You demonized the majority of this population of this country every step of the way. She's a joke. And she's an absolute joke. I'm so happy that this is nightmare of the Democrats in power is coming to a close. I'm so happy. I can't tell you enough how pleased that makes me. We won. It's wild. We won. And I hope they go back and investigate 2020. And I hope we get some investigations into this campaign finance scandal that seems to be brewing around Kamala Harris. The money isn't adding up. It's not adding up. And people are calling for an audit of the Kamala campaign finances top to bottom. Here's what happened. Kamala raised over $1 billion. She only campaigned for 3 months? She raised over $1 billion. Whoa, huge, impressive total. She ended the campaign $20 million in debt. What? Yeah. Yeah, Kamala Harris's campaign currently, today, as it stands, is $20 million in debt. And there are claims online that staffers are spilling the tea. One Twitter user said, this is getting very explosive. This is Matt Boyle. He said, a Kamala campaign staffer who saw the posts about the campaign finance just called me and said this is a massive scandal worthy of an audit. The $20 million in debt thing is real. And Rob Flaherty, this staffer said, is currently shopping around the Kamala fundraising email list to anyone who wants it to try to raise the money back. They're selling everyone's information because they're $20 million in debt, or at least trying to, if these reports are accurate. They're trying to sell it to other campaigns and outside groups. Rob Flaherty is the deputy campaign manager, and she reports to Jen O'Malley Dillon, who was the campaign manager. And Jen, she blew through $1 billion in a few months, and it was her idea to do all of the concerts. This is what a Kamala campaign advisor told Matthew Boyle. The source added that O'Malley Dillon did these concerts like Katy Perry, Lizzo, Eminem, Bruce Springsteen, etc., at the expense of prioritizing and spending money on social media and other campaign priorities. What's that you say? The celebrities who showed up to support Kamala Harris, they were doing it for a check and not because they believed in it? Oh my gosh. I didn't know that. I'm finding that out for the first time. Apparently, there was also a group in Georgia that had to lay off 100 people because they couldn't pay them during the campaign. Right now, it is unclear, to be fair, if the campaign paid those celebrities to perform. But you also have to realize, even if they did it for free, there is a cost associated with putting on a concert, right? There's a cost associated for the production of an event. Getting everything ready, sound systems, engineers, studio guys, there's a cost to it. There's a cost. And that cost has left a campaign that once had $1 billion in cash on hand, $20 million in debt. Insanity. This Kamala campaign staffer, who is spilling the tea, if you will, is also saying that there are several people who are working for the Kamala Harris for President campaign that are still awaiting several overdue payments they were promised for their work. She wasn't paying her staff. Imagine if this woman had won. In 3 months, she turned $1 billion in cash to $20 million in debt. Under her, just stellar, stunning, and brave leadership. Imagine what she would have done to this economy. It would have been disastrous. We have dodged so many bullets this election season. Kamala being in charge is absolutely one of them. God bless America. Thank goodness Patriots went out there. They were not discouraged. They didn't let the propaganda get to them. They went out there and they voted. And boy, did we vote. What was that final score again? 312? 312 to 226? Yikes. Joe Biden could be addressing the nation around 10 a.m. They're saying soon on CNN. As soon as Joe starts talking, we'll go to him live. We want to be here for that. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and United Structural Systems, USS, these guys are great, man. They are in the weeds, in the community, supporting people when they need to be supported. And this weekend, they're sponsoring the Run to Remember Tristan 5K and 1 mile fun run in Pleasant View, Tennessee. It's happening Saturday, the 9th at 7 a.m. It's going to be in Pleasant View Community Park, and it's dedicated to honoring the life and memory of Tristan Franklin, bringing friends and family together to celebrate his legacy. Now, in addition to celebrating Tristan's life, the event's also going to be a fundraiser to raise money for the Tristan Franklin Foundation. This is an organization with the mission to support and equip Cheatham County student athletes. All the proceeds from the races are going to go directly towards providing scholarships for student athletes in Cheatham County and eventually leading to the construction of a track with many more plans in mind to honor Tristan. Listen, we talk about USS a lot and how they're great for foundation repair. They're great for waterproofing work. But I can't tell you how much I love sponsoring and endorsing a company who says, you know what, this week for commercials, we actually just want to help our community. Like, that's huge, man. That's huge. To join USS and signing up for the Run to Remember Tristan Memorial Race and Fun Run this Saturday, visit runtoremembertristan.com. That's runtoremembertristan.com. And you spell Tristan Tristin. Tristin. Runtoremembertristan.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
So, will Donald Trump's New York felony conviction now be tossed by the judge? There are reports that the judge is indeed considering that. We'll have a report. Also, there may be some good news for credit card customers today. We'll have those stories at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. 927 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. A lot of times I'm sharing the memes that you hear on the show on that Twitter account, at Chris Hand on Air. Have you seen the memes from a lot of the conservatives? The left are seeing them. They don't understand it's a joke. So here's let me read you this headline, okay? This is Axios put this out. You know Axios, liberal rag Axios. The headline reads, Trump's MAGA allies gloat. Project 2025 is the agenda. Like, the left is humorless. Are they? They have no funny bone in their body. But yeah, people have been joking online. It's actually hilarious. Yeah, because that's all the left wanted to talk about before the election was the dreaded Project 2025. So you got people out there. Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire was one of the ones I saw. He put on Twitter, now that the election is over, I think we can finally say that, yeah, actually Project 2025 is the agenda. LOL. Axios sees these tweets and they go, oh my gosh. I don't know if they actually believe that these are factual, but they wrote the story like it was. President-elect Trump's MAGA allies wasted little time after his election win before openly celebrating that the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025 will set the agenda for his administration. Matt Walsh closed his tweet with an LOL, dog. You're missing the point. You're missing the point. But Axios, this is what they do. Driving the news. Less than 24 hours after Trump's victory, his allies and other right-wing commentators begin to brag about implementing the radical policy agenda. Ex-Trump White House advisor Steve Bannon praised Walsh and amplified his post during his War Room podcast on Wednesday, telling his staff to promote Walsh's comment on social media. Because it's funny. It made us chuckle. Well, while your supporters are melting down and recording themselves crying, we're having fun. You see, we're the party of joy now. We've culturally appropriated the joy. Right-wing influencer Benny Johnson also chimed in on X, writes Axios. It is my honor to inform you all that Project 2025 was real the whole time, he wrote. These people have no sense of humor. And you know what the craziest part about this is? There's going to be a leftist out there that visits Axios every day, and they're going to read that, and they're going to go, I knew it! I knew it! That's what they're going to do. There's a lot of meltdowns happening, a lot of copium going on. We'll cover most of that next, including Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert, who embarrassed themselves more last night. We'll talk about it next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 9:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll have your weather forecast in a couple of minutes. The New York Post is reporting that the Manhattan judge who oversaw Donald Trump's hush money criminal trial is expected to announce next week if the now president-elect's historic felony conviction will still stand. Manhattan Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan had already delayed sentencing by more than 4 months to come after the election and gave himself until next Tuesday to decide if the conviction should just be tossed. Trump faces up to 4 years in prison after being convicted of 34 counts of felony falsifying business records to cover up payments to a porn star ahead of the 2016 election. The Federal Reserve widely expected to cut interest rates another quarter point when it wraps up its meeting today. That could help drive down borrowing costs for things like credit cards. Details from ABC's Rebecca Jarvis.
The average APR right now is about 25%. This Fed rate cut, it could move things a little bit lower in 1 to 2 billing cycles, but you can also take matters into your own hands. Call that credit card company, ask them to lower your rate. It can actually work, and especially if you've received anything in the mail with a lower APR on it, tell them about that.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey there. How are you doing? If you watch the show regularly, I'm guessing you're not doing great.
That was Stephen Colbert last night. That's how he opened the Colbert show, the late night show. What is it? What do they call his show? Is it the late show? I don't know. I don't watch it.
Something with that guy, Steven.
Steven! Exclamation point, I think is the name of it. It's just so sad. I know. Win graciously. I'm trying. And then I see stuff like this.
Hey there. How are you doing? If you watch the show regularly, I'm guessing you're not doing great.
No, I would assume that as well. I mean, Stephen Colbert is the show that had the dancing syringes during the COVID pandemic to try and get that audience to vaccinate. Remember that? Yeah, I would imagine anybody that's still there watching Stephen Colbert is they're having a tough go today.
Yeah, me neither.
What a clown. Me neither. I mean, it's a hard day. It's a hard day.
Oh, it's so tough.
It's so tough. It's so tough.
Yeah, me neither. Today, some people said to me, sorry you have to do a show tonight, which is nice of them to say, but I don't have to do a show. I get to do a show tonight. I'm so grateful to be with all of these talented people, those people over here, those people that you'll never see, with the audience and the Ed Sullivan, with you people at home, because especially at times like this, what do we most want to be? Not alone.
No, it's like you're supposed to do a comedy show, man. It's so sad. It's so sad. We have to be gracious, right? Let's not mock him ruthlessly. No matter how bad we're trying not to. You know what I mean? No matter how much we want to. So let's just focus on victory. Well, I bet you the other late night shows did better.
Probably, you would think, right?
Probably.
It's hard to go down further than that.
No, I would assume like Jimmy Kimmel did okay.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go.
All right. He's crying. The man is crying. He's crying. He said for women, for children, for immigrants. It's like, all right, dude, what about the 300,000 missing children from the border under Kamala's watch? What about the women who lost their lives because of the illegal aliens that were let in under Kamala's watch? The women and kids who can't afford to eat groceries because of the inflation under Kamala's watch. And you get on TV and you give us some crocodile tears. Actually, immigrants to this country really support Donald Trump because they came in the right way. And they see what happens when these people come in the wrong way. And they get debit cards loaded with cash, free cell phones, free room and board. And they're sick of it too. He cries. A grown man cries.
For the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism.
I love how he goes, for healthcare, for climate, for science, for journalism. All of these industries that we understand, we know to be garbage. Absolute trash. Absolute trash. Think about it, guys. Healthcare. We weep. We weep for the executives at Big Pharma who are holding emergency meetings behind the scenes because RFK is going to be coming into the administration. We weep. We weep for the scientists who get paid to do studies that go with the consensus that the elites want to push. Well, we feel for them. We feel for them.
For our climate, for science, for journalism.
For journalism. The same journalists who've been lying to us for what, decades? Probably longer.
For justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security.
It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who survive on Social Security. The guy winning who says he's not going to tax your Social Security checks, that is terrible if you're living on Social Security. Okay.
For our allies in Ukraine.
Oh, he's crying about Ukraine.
For NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
No. All right. All right, Jimmy. All right, Jim. This is what really blows my mind about a guy like this. He's on this moral high ground. He's on this high horse. And it's like, dude, your show. I watched it growing up as a kid. I would go up to my room and then put it on because it was hilarious. You wore blackface. You had girls jumping on trampolines, inappropriate jokes. It was awesome. It was awesome. As a kid, I mean, you're in high school, hilarious. Fantastic show. And then to see what you've become, so soft, no humor, no common sense, none. You've become a mouthpiece for the machine, Jimmy Kimmel. Stephen Colbert's in that same boat. There was a point in time in there where his show was actually funny back when it was on Comedy Central. But nowadays, he's not funny at all. He's a mouthpiece for the machine. These guys are so upset. They're so upset. Oh, and if you're happy, you're gonna be upset soon too. You just don't know it yet. And they just miss the actual real reaction of people on the ground. Once again, they're hanging out in L.A. with their elite buddies. They're enjoying the smell of their own farts, and they miss what's going on in the rest of the country. They completely miss it. The reaction in the Virginia Military Institute barracks when the news came down that Donald Trump won was a heck of a lot different than the reaction we got from Jimmy Kimmel or Stephen Colbert. It's about 1:48 a.m. on the East Coast. They announce at the Virginia Military Institute barracks, they hear the announcement that Donald Trump wins. And this entire barracks loses it, cheering, screaming, celebrating. You wouldn't know that if you just watched Jimmy Kimmel or if you just watched Stephen Colbert. You might not see that video if we don't have a free speech platform like X, Twitter. You just wouldn't see it. American media is they're not handling this well. I think that's an understatement. Jimmy Kimmel on TV crying about science. It's not going well for you. It's not just American media. European media is also not handling this very well. There's a German newspaper called Die Zeit. However you do it, you just got to use it, an angry German accent. You're probably pretty close. But they ran an article reacting to the election of Trump, the re-election. And I don't know, I'm not going to break down what the article says because I don't speak German. However, the headline was in English. And the headline just said, fudge. Well, not that. It was the other F word, the F dash word. Like, guys, what are you worried about? Are you worried that you're gonna have to pay your fair share in NATO? Maybe handle your own defenses. I could understand that, actually. Top-selling Spanish left-wing newspaper El País called the election a victory of a convicted felon, and the newspaper's editor-in-chief claimed it was a victory of disinformation. Disinformation. France has a paper, the Libertarian, and they stated, it would be tempting to decree that 50% of Americans are morons, but that would be flippant. All these people adhere to the priorities defined by Trump. Violent economic protectionism, geopolitical isolationism, mass expulsion of migrants. They say this like it's a bad thing. Like, actually, that's actually why I wanted to vote for the guy. So That was what sold me, actually, was the isolationism, the mass deportations, the economic protections. You know what I mean? Bringing our factories back here, not starting new wars, and not allowing a horde of illegal aliens to come across our southern border. That's, you can say that, like, oh, they didn't even know. It's like, no, I knew. That's why I like the guy. That's why I was supporting him, actually. The European media makes me chuckle. American media makes me chuckle too. And in the meantime, we're now seeing finger pointing. Oh, you got to get what would a good election victory be without some old-fashioned finger pointing? Bernie Sanders up first. He's crapping on Democrats and the Democrat Party. The Daily Mail puts it. He goes scorched earth on Democrats in a blistering statement. That's the headline from the Daily Mail. And I mean, he put out a statement. He put out a statement on Twitter, of all places. You know, oh, that dastardly free speech platform. He said, it should come as no great surprise that a Democratic Party which has abandoned working class people would find that working class abandoned them. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they're right. Oh, all right, Bernie. That's Bernie. The Democrat Party abandoned you. Wait, what have we been saying? We've been saying that on conservative radio for the longest time. You know, and you can look at so many examples. RFK, lifelong Democrat. He wanted to fight against Big Pharma and the poison in food. And he wanted to have an honest conversation about vaccines. They demonized him. He didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left him. Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard had the audacity to go up there on a debate stage and call out Kamala Harris on her record in 2020. That was the end of it for her. She didn't abandon the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party abandoned her. Bernie Sanders now just realizing it. Maybe they'll abandon him next. Although, if he tries to join our side, I'm going to say, no thanks. No thanks. Try the Libertarian Party down the road. Try them. There's a lot more reaction coming in. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has something to say about the consequences that we're facing. Whew. This one may send shivers down your spine. I'll play it when we get back. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spice and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Well, those who actually place financial bets on a Republican election victory, they are doing pretty well today. And how will Donald Trump's election impact the war in Ukraine? We'll have those stories at 10 a.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
There was a few times in there where I wanted to place a bet. And then I'm like, am I just throwing money away? I got 4 kids, right? And if Kamala wins and I lose this money, the inflation's going to keep going, and then I'm going to be in trouble with the wife. Also, side note, the wife's celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday, Virginia.
Happy birthday.
I got this big plan tonight, big date.
Oh, man, good for you.
Taking her out on the town.
Yeah, you got babysitters, or you bringing the family?
I lined up the sitter.
I
lined it up. I lined it up.
Good for you.
You know? So
good for you.
I'll tell you where I take her tomorrow. I don't want to blow it today.
Yeah, can't risk it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Happy birthday, Victoria.
Happy birthday, Victoria. We love you. AOC is she's one of the latest liberals to turn that front-facing camera around, hit the record button, and let everybody know how upset she is.
We are about to enter a political period that will have consequences for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, it's a new golden age. That's what we've been saying. American prosperity unleashed. It will have consequences for the rest of our lives, and I'm looking forward to that. AOC, she's talking about negative consequences, obviously.
We cannot give up. We now find ourselves in a time in history that has precedent, and we find ourselves, I believe, in a time where there are, let's say, peers in history of mass movements of people that mobilize to protect one another in times of fascism and authoritarianism. And this is the era that we are poised to enter. Donald Trump has talked about turning the military on U.S. citizens that he deems his domestic political enemies.
It's here we go. Here comes the rhetoric. Here comes the hoaxes. Here comes the lies. We got a big victory. But when you listen to these leftists, you have to understand the fight is just beginning. They're going to do what they did the last time. They're going to try and slow him down every step of the way. They're going to spread lies about him. And they're going to use their wing of establishment media to amplify those lies. We got to enjoy this victory right now. I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to enjoy the victory this week. And then it's like back to work. Back to work. Because we all need to be on our grind to make sure that this administration is not derailed. It's 10:01 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 10 a.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll get you a weather forecast here in just a couple of minutes, so stand by. While traditional polls were showing a razor's edge margin separating Donald Trump and Kamala Harris in the weeks leading up to Election Day, the newly legalized Kalshi prediction market showed a clear Trump advantage. Those who bet on the Republican will see a potential collective payout of about $450 million from Kalshi, or the offshore site called Polymarket.
Kalshi is a predictions market where people can bet on real-world events for the first time, including the U.S. presidential election. The company says its charts of betting trends favored Donald Trump even when the polls reflected a tight race. And Kalshi will keep taking bets on the election until Inauguration Day, January 20th.
One challenge for President-elect Trump is the war in Ukraine. Here's ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge with more.
Today, a top Russian official close to President Putin indicated the Russian government would be willing to negotiate. And a Ukrainian politician close to President Zelensky told ABC News Ukraine would also go into talks, but said the freezing of the conflict had to be accompanied with real security guarantees that would ensure Russia could not restart the war in the future.
Back here in Nashville, Mayor Freddie O'Connell outlining when you will start seeing parts of the 15-year Choose How You Move transit plan being implemented.
The program's also designed to build on itself so that the improvements you see in year one then expand and work even better together in year two, and that by year 5 you start to really see, I think, some of those service level improvements.
The sales tax increase that voters approved will help fund the projects that are scheduled to begin in February. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Any minute, any moment from now, President Joe Biden is going to be addressing the nation. They're all getting ready on the lawn of the White House. They're making their way to their chairs. So we'll go to that live if it happens here in the next few minutes. We got a lot to cover, a lot. Well, one of the things that I do want to talk about, and I haven't talked about this as much as maybe I should have. I don't know. I do some work with Turning Point, and I got to tell you, the ground game from Turning Point Action, Turning Point USA, on these college campuses this election season, what's been done by that team over there is absolutely a reason that we won this election. You know, Arizona being called last night, that all that credit goes to Turning Point Action. And even MSNBC yesterday aired a clip talking about Turning Point USA and their impact on the election, talking about how one voter told them that's what changed their mind.
I spoke to one young man who actually told me he was on the fence, but it was Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA who have been in and around this campus sharing the message of Donald Trump that ultimately pushed him over. And he said it's one of the reasons we're seeing all those Make America Great Again hats on campus, because they brought them and distributed them to the students here. Katie?
Yeah. Charlie was on just about every college campus he could make it to. And it wasn't just Charlie. We're going to have Joe Bob joining us here in a minute. Vivek Ramaswamy was touring college campuses with Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action. Joe Bob was opening for him. This is at college campuses all over the country. The ground game is why we won. And I have this story, and I didn't want to tell this beforehand. You know, I went to Wisconsin a couple weekends ago. And this is just the dedication of the Turning Point team. We were in Wisconsin, and we had to go to a frat party. And I'll be honest with you, after this happened, I was like, there's no bleeping way we win Wisconsin. And I was actually, like, pretty down about it. And it was kind of like, all right, we're not going to put this story out just yet because we don't want any bad vibes going to the election. So it went like this. We went to a frat house. We had to go to a frat house in Wisconsin where it's send the vote. We're doing it with the Nelk boys and Charlie, and it's myself and a couple content creators there, and we're going there to get content. And we walked into this frat house, and I was wearing a MAGA hat, and the first thing that I was hit with was take that bleeping hat off, and I was like, what? It's like I thought all the frats were pro-Trump. Take that bleeping hat off. You can't wear that in here. It's like, all right, I'll take it off. I'm here to work. You know what I mean? I don't know why you're upset, but. Okay. We make our way through this frat house, and we're going down to this crowd, and the crowd did not want us there. It was 70-30. 70 did not want us there. 30 did. 70% just were really disgusted that we even showed up. And the dedication of the team to just push through this was wild. So we get there. And immediately we're treated like pariahs in this liberal Wisconsin town, Madison, Wisconsin. People are screaming at us, Trump's a fascist, he's a rapist, he's a racist, he's a dictator. And I was like, dude, how can we possibly? Milwaukee and Madison are the two biggest cities in Wisconsin. I was like, how are they going to win Wisconsin? The Nelk boys show up, and everybody's really happy to see the Nelk boys. They do the Full Send podcast, and it's a podcast that Trump was on to really go after that youth vote, and they were doing some events with us, and it was awesome. Charlie gets up to speak, and this crowd turned on him. Charlie had a beer thrown at him by a crowd, and he laughed it off. And he kept going with his message. We're down in the crowd, me and two content creators, and we're filming. We are getting elbowed in the back by frat guys. And then, what do you do in that situation? So we chose to do the no-sell option. Like, what do you mean? I got elbowed? I didn't even know. The last thing we want is chaos to ensue. And the other thing we didn't want is this story to get out. We believe that, as probably a lot of people do, that the perception of fraternities were that the frat boys are all pro-Trump. Right? Like that's what the perception seemed going in there, and that's what we kind of assumed we were walking into. It was not the case. And it was very, very hard to get content in Wisconsin. And it wasn't so much that the liberals didn't want to talk to us. They were happy to talk to us. And they were happy to tell us how evil and racist and deplorable we were. We couldn't get conservatives to talk to us. And that was the one of the most shocking things to me. And maybe this is one of the reasons why we won Wisconsin, is just because the conservatives were very, very silent and the liberals were very, very loud. But we would get up and we'd get a conservative girl or guy, and we would ask them questions. And a lot of times you do these content creation things, and you'll see man on the street content. You have a question that you'll ask that kind of like loosens people up. So it'd be like, oh, what's a conspiracy theory you believe in? And they would say something like, oh, the conspiracy theory I believe in is Chuck E. Cheese. They recycle pizza. And if you got 3 slices left, they're remaking the pizza with 5 more slices, and then they send that out. They don't. You never get a full pizza. It's always leftovers, and we laugh like, okay, let's do word association. I'm going to say a word. You tell me the first thing that comes to your mind, and then we'd say something like illegal immigration, and immediately it was like full stop, brakes on the train, just screeching. And they'd be like, no, Claire, don't say anything. You're going to get canceled. Get out of there. Get out of there. I was like, how the hell are we going to win Wisconsin? Well, it's that ground game, man. It's that ground game. It's showing up where people don't want you, regardless of them not wanting you there, and just being persistent. And the Turning Point team, Turning Point Action, I can't say enough nice things about what they did to help win this election. There were 10 states that they had full-time employees in doing ballot chasing, doing voter registration. Every state that they had full-time employees in went Republican. Every single one. We're still waiting on some results out of Arizona. I still have hope for Kari Lake. We'll see how that develops. But I just wanted to say for just a moment, if you pay attention to Turning Point at all, just understand how crazy it has been this election season for everybody over there, how dedicated that staff is. There's not another organization that is better than it in politics, and I may be biased because I do work with them, but I truly, truly believe it. We are blessed to have an organization like Turning Point, blessed to have a guy like Charlie Kirk out there. And when I heard this on MSNBC, I was like, man, this is how we won the election. This is how we won the youth vote.
I spoke to one young man who actually told me he was on the fence, but it was Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA who have been in and around this campus sharing the message of Donald Trump that ultimately pushed him over. And he said it's one of the reasons we're seeing all those Make America Great Again hats on campus, because they brought them and distributed them to the students here.
Yeah, listen, there were so many hats that were distributed because of Turning Point Action. And it's one of those things, man. You see somebody, you don't feel like you're alone anymore. And what Charlie has done on those college campuses is let the conservative kids know you are not alone. And every event that they had, there were thousands of people turning out, except for that one in Wisconsin, which was just wild. And I'm grateful that I got to be a part of it. But, man, while we were there, all of us were like, there's no way. There's no way we win Wisconsin. And now we were in the group chat last night. We're like, hey, you guys want to go? You guys want to go back to that frat in Madison? Ask them how they're feeling. It's like it's that fine line. Do we gloat, or do we just win graciously? If I see those frat guys, I'm gonna gloat. I'm gonna gloat. But there's a lot of finger pointing right now from the left. That's where they're at. They're not handling it well, and they want to figure out who's to blame. Who is to blame? AOC says we're gonna see these consequences forever. The governor of Massachusetts, she went on record saying, I'm not going to let state police help mass deportations at all. This is the same governor who was trying to send illegal aliens out of her state because they couldn't afford it. Just so we're keeping score at home. Maura Healey, she tried to send illegal aliens out of her state because they didn't have the budget for it. And now she's saying that the same people that she essentially tried to deport from her state, she will not have state police assist in deportations.
If the Trump administration requests it, would the Massachusetts State Police assist in mass deportations?
No, absolutely not. But
absolutely not. Absolutely not, she says. Listen, it's only the overwhelming majority of Americans that voted Donald Trump into office on the platform of mass deportations. Why would we assist in that, right? Why?
Absolutely not. But, let me say this. I do think it's important that we all recognize that there's going to be a lot of pressure on states and state officials. And I can assure you we're going to work really hard to deliver. Some realities also need to be, noted, and that is in 2016, we had a very different situation in the courts. And while I'm sure there may be litigation ahead, there's a lot of other ways that people are going to act and need to act for the sake of their states and their residents. There's regulatory authority and executive powers and the like. There's legislation also within our states. So I think that the key here is that every tool in the toolbox has got to be used to protect our citizens, to protect our residents, and protect our states, and certainly to hold the line on democracy and the rule of law as a basic principle, right?
I love how she says, listen, we're going to use every tool in our toolbook to protect our citizens and our residents. It's like, what about the citizens that are being assaulted, raped, murdered by illegal aliens? Well, not those. Not the. No. We meant the illegal alien ones, right? Like this is who she's talking about protecting. Not American citizens, illegal alien residents, newcomers. That's who she's talking about. That's who she's talking about. These people are just such a joke. Claire McCaskill was on MSNBC, and this is right after Kamala's concession speech. And after the concession speech, she was just so moved that she started crying.
I mean, in that mission and that purpose, Claire McCaskill will determine. Are you okay?
I think I'm okay.
Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of her.
These are this just brings me back to Joe Biden dropping out and Van Jones crying, be like, it's the bravest thing he ever did. The greatest thing he ever did was quit. It's Claire McCaskill. I'm so proud of her.
School will determine. Are you okay?
I think I'm okay.
Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of her.
I'm trying not to gloat.
I don't think people realize how hard it is to get to where she was. As a woman, getting elected DA, it's not easy, guys. People don't trust women to be in charge of making decisions about life and death and crime. And
you get the theme, right? It's misogyny.
Being, frankly, a supervisor in some ways over police. Her fighting through the primary thicket of California politics to become Attorney General, really hard. I mean, this is really hard stuff. For her to be selected as vice president after what I think she would tell you was a very disappointing presidential race, where I think she kind of lost her footing and was listening too much to consultants, frankly.
Blame game. She was listening too much to consultants, frankly.
And it didn't really exude who she was.
Is that a consultant problem or is that a Kamala Harris problem? Who's running the campaign? If your name is on top of the ticket, you get to tell consultants, I'm not doing that. But this is the problem with Kamala Harris that they don't understand, but the American people saw right through. She's a puppet. She's propped up by the people behind the curtain. Oh, she listened too much to the consultants. That's what she was told to do. She's not a boss. She's just not. Could you imagine Donald Trump losing and be like, well, I listened to the consultants? No.
And then to be vice president and to step into the most difficult situation in the world, where she had to be completely loyal to Joe Biden and respectful of the fact that he had chosen her, but yet maneuver in a situation. I mean, such political skill. It is just inspiring.
So she's saying then she was selected to be vice president, and then she had to deal with Joe Biden, and she had to maneuver politically around old Joe. Oh, how hard is that? I mean, you could have just chose not to take the job, right? Like, you knew what you were signing up for. These fake tears from Claire McCaskill.
People who don't understand what she had to do to get to this moment. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just very proud of her.
I think a lot of people understand what she had to do to get to this moment. And it started with Montel Williams, then she made her way to Willie Brown, and she worked her way up. Congratulations, Kamala. Congratulations. We're all so proud of you. We're also proud of you. The writing on the wall couldn't have been more clear that she was a terrible candidate. But they chose to keep her because they wanted to keep that war chest of money. Doesn't seem like a good decision now, does it? It's 10:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I got to tell you about my friend Shane Ring at Cover Nash. CoverNash.com is giving you some excellent options on health insurance, and they're doing it at a price that is unbeatable. Now, if you're looking for health insurance, you own a small business, you have health insurance, but you're paying too much for it, don't go online looking for quotes. Call Shane Ring. He's an expert with over 20 years of experience in health insurance, and he'll shop the entire market for you to find the best plan. He works with over 75 different companies to shop from every type of plan available in the market, and he can help you no matter what your income or health situation is. So don't let yourself or someone you know get taken advantage of by these call center agents by limited, overpriced health coverage. Shane can easily save you 30 to 60% on your monthly premiums. And many of these plans will even pay you when you use them. Call Shane today. He'll take care of you. 615-465-0023. 615-465-0023. Or head over to covernash.com. That's covernash.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
RFK Jr. and Elon Musk, they are getting together with the president-elect amid speculation that they may be part of his cabinet. And a wildfire, it rages out of control in Southern California. We'll have the latest on that. That's all coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
In 10 minutes, we're going to talk with Joe Bob Talefi. He is a former campaign guy. He would help run campaigns in California. He's a stand-up comedian, conservative, TPUSA contributor. We're going to talk to him about what went wrong with Kamala Harris and where do the Democrats go next. But right now, Joe Biden is delivering a Rose Garden address after Harris concedes, and we're going to go to that live.
I direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. That's what the American people deserve. Yesterday, I also spoke with Vice President Harris. She's been a partner and a public servant. She ran an inspiring campaign, and everyone got to see something that I learned early on to respect so much.
It didn't inspire enough.
She has a backbone like a ramrod. She has great character, true character. She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran. You know, the struggle for the soul of America, since our very founding, has always been an ongoing debate and still vital today. I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, It's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent.
It's actually raised more questions about 2020.
Win or lose. I also hope we can restore the respect for all our election workers who busted their necks and took risks at the outset. We should thank them. Thank them for staffing voting sites, counting the votes, protecting the very integrity of the election. Many of them are volunteers who do it simply out of love for their country. And as they did their duty as citizens, I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America. To all our incredible staff, supporters, cabinet members, all the people who've been hanging out with me for the last 4 years, God love you, as my mother would say. Thank you so much. You put so much into the past 4 years. I know it's a difficult time. You're hurting. I hear you and I see you. But don't forget all that we accomplished.
What did he accomplish?
It's been a historic presidency.
Has it?
Not because I'm president, because what we've done, what you've done.
It's been awful.
A presidency for all Americans. Much of the work we've done is already being felt by the American people, but the vast majority of it will not be felt over the next 10 years.
All right, let's go, Brandon.
We have legislation we passed that's just only now just really kicking in. We're going to see over $1 trillion worth of infrastructure work.
You like that? It's just kicking in now.
Lives in rural communities and
he's already taking credit for Trump's successes in the future.
Because it takes time to get it done.
Got it.
And so much more. It's going to take time. But it's there. The road ahead is clear, assuming we sustain it. There's so much we can get done and will get done based on the way the legislation was passed. And it's truly historic. You know, we're leaving behind the strongest economy in the world. I know people are still hurting, but things are changing rapidly. Together, we've changed America for the better. Now we have 74 days to finish the term, our term. Let's make every day count. That's the responsibility we have to the American people. Look, folks, you all know it in your lives. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. We all get knocked down. But the measure of our character, as my dad would say, is how quickly we get back up. Remember, a defeat does not mean we are defeated. We lost this battle. The America of your dreams is calling for you to get back up. That's the story of America for over 240 years and counting. It's a story for all of us, not just some of us. The American experiment endures.
All right, I think I've heard enough of him. I love though. He's like, listen, all the stuff I'm doing, it's going to take time for you to feel, and you won't feel it until Trump gets in office. So all of Trump's successes are going to be Joe Biden's. Okay, and this kind of echoes what Obama said, on the campaign trail. And anything good that happened during Trump's term that was my economy. Remember? Okay. And the failures of Joe Biden were on Trump. It's like, Trump's just a placeholder? Is that what it is? He hasn't done anything good or bad or what? Hey, don't forget, anything good Trump does, that's going to be Joe Biden. We'll talk to Joe Bob next about how the Democrat Party rebuilds from here. It's 10:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, at 10:32, I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We will get to your weather forecast here in just a bit. The Trump transition effort is up and running. ABC's Stephen Portnoy, he is in Washington.
Sources say the president-elect met yesterday with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and with Elon Musk, two men who are expected to hold senior roles in the next Trump administration. Musk is likely to have a perch overseeing federal spending, and Kennedy says he'd prefer to be something of a White House health czar. The Trump transition team is now sorting through possible picks to fill 4,000 roles in the executive branch, with some 1,200 requiring Senate confirmation.
A fast-moving fire raging out of control in Southern California with thousands forced to flee their homes. Here's ABC's Mola Lengi with the latest from Ventura County.
Fire crews that remain in this neighborhood really have their hands full this morning with the fire that has scorched more than 14,000 acres of land in less than 24 hours. In that time, it was a race to rescue and to evacuate thousands of residents here in Ventura County. First responders going door to door in some cases after that fire sparked early Wednesday morning.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Options.
Some pundits are asking what the vice president could have done differently to break through with the voters. Of course, she only had 3 months to campaign, rally. She kicked his butt all over the country over the course of those 2 months. She did every debate, every interview. People kept saying they didn't know who she was, so then she told them who she was. So how much more could she have done? Or should she? I mean, aside from buck naked dancing on the top of the table, I don't know what else she could have done.
I don't think she could have done more. I think she left it all out on the field. I think she raised $1 billion in 3 months. I think that she ran a flawless campaign.
She ran a flawless campaign, they say. A flawless campaign. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Joining us on the stream, if you're watching on Super Talk TV, is my friend Joe Bob. Joe Bob, what's up, man? How are you? Oh,
Nashville radio, because Joe Bob is a very weird name to have, except for in certain parts of the country. And thankfully, Nashville is very accepting and inclusive of my my definitely odd name.
I love the name. It's a perfect name. It fits. You're at like this weird intersection where you've run campaigns in the past and you've helped in that arena. You're a conservative pundit. You've been on the campaign trail, opening up for Vivek Ramaswamy at different college campuses across the nation. And I wonder, when you look at what people are saying about Kamala's campaign and how it was flawless, was it?
You know, there are a lot of things to say, but the problem, Chris, is I don't know if I want to give away any of the secrets to the Democrats. So I think we could, if you're a Democrat listening, why don't you go ahead and turn your radio off, because what I'm going to say is very simple. But I don't necessarily want them to hear it. Let's just, I don't know, some disclaimers out there. Climate change isn't real. There's only 2 genders. Okay, cool. I think we've probably eliminated most of them from listening. But I guess now I'll divulge the secret. They have to recognize reality. The most fascinating thing that I think I've seen in the last couple days, last 48 hours since the election, is that Democrats on CNN and MSNBC and all of your alphabet news networks weren't taking any responsibility for their own loss. The same thing with The View. The clip you just played, none of them recognized, hey, some of the stuff that we were saying drove people the wrong way. And if I were to pinpoint what big thing actually made a difference in this election, I think it's all of the media saying all of the crazy stuff that they were saying. And if they continue to do that, they will continue to lose without fail. So part of me wants them to continue to say the outlandish stuff and push more of America further to the right. And also part of me wants them to recognize it so they're, I don't know, maybe they can moderate back to where the Democrat Party used to be.
Is there any chance of that? I mean, the Democrat Party is going to have to go through an absolute rebuild right now, and you look at them and you wonder, how are they going to do that? If you're going to rebuild the Democrat Party to make it respectable again, because I don't think they are currently, what are you doing? What steps are you taking if you're a Democrat leader?
Yeah, see, it's a really tough needle to thread, because you've got some of the actual tangible levers that the Democrat Party, the DNC, can use. They can take some of their high profile but also crazy people off of their committee assignments. They can take them off of like the fundraising lists. For example, people that come to mind, AOC and Bernie Sanders. AOC and Bernie Sanders are horrible for the Democratic Party, but they also raise a bunch of money, so it's problematic. In terms of like the rhetoric, the policy, the ideas, they are terrible for the Democrat Party, and they are pushing the party further to the left, which is not where America is. But the problem that the DNC has is they also bring in a ton of money. So in order to square those things, what you're going to have to do as the Democrat Party is find somebody who can do both of those things. One, not be crazy, and two, also bring in the same amount of money that your AOCs and your Bernie Sanders bring in terms of fundraising. And I think that's the only way they kind of dig themselves out of this. It was and always has been Nancy Pelosi, but obviously she's aging and won't be on the scene forever. But they're going to have to find a new leader to kind of coalesce around. And I'll tell you right now, the people in charge, Hakeem Jeffries, and all of the social media influencers who also have a vote in Congress for some reason, those aren't going to do it for in terms of them rebuilding in an effective way.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. People always say Hakeem Jeffries, and I don't understand that at all.
Nah.
One question I do wonder is, you bring up the money. Does the money mean anything anymore? I mean, you look at Trump. He was outspent in the primaries. He was outspent in the presidential race again. Kamala Harris raises over $1 billion. She ends up $20 million in debt. Even with all the money, is that what it takes? Is the money as important as it used to be?
That is a great point, and it's something that we all debate in kind of the political campaign circles for we've been debating for the last couple of years. Because there's this new wave of media, because memes, I think, influence votes more than the news and ads on TV, I think you're starting to see money matter less and less. Now, what we shouldn't do is assume that money doesn't matter at all, because it definitely still does in terms of fundraising and making sure the candidates can go to meet the people that are going to vote for them. But at the same time, you're totally right. The social media landscape of politics has fundamentally changed. And I'll add in that the Federal Election Commission, the FEC that oversees all of the rules and regulations in terms of spending, has no idea how to regulate the online meme culture world. Obviously, we've been saying the left can't meme for, 8 years now, almost 10 years. And that's totally true. And it's an unregulated field of elections. And so when you ask, like, does the money matter? Yeah, it definitely still does. But you're also right in saying that it matters less and less when the people have their own voice and don't have to pay for the space on TV, terrestrial radio, all that sort of stuff that they used to.
Well, and you look at especially the Joe Rogan podcast. I mean, that's an easy one. How much of a dollar value would you put on that for Donald Trump?
You can't, I don't think you can actually put a dollar amount on his particular interview. You can't put a dollar amount on JD's particular interview. And you also can't put a dollar amount on the negative ad spend that Kamala Harris gave the Trump campaign by not going on. The media covered that. I mean, at least conservative media covered that incessantly. And that's ad dollars also. That's earned media. And it all matters. And again, to your point, makes less of an impact with actual fundraising dollars. So maybe you got a point there, Chris. Maybe if Democrats can just find somebody that's not crazy and hope that fundraising doesn't matter as much in the future, maybe that's how they pull themselves out.
But you got to have a little bit of crazy for it to work on social media. If you're in a purple state though, and you're tasked with being the campaign manager of a Democrat candidate, what advice are you giving them in 2026, 2028?
It depends on where they are, right? Because there's going to be several races that are strongly held Democrat races. And if pandering to the lefty audience is what has been working for you for the last 20 years to keep you getting reelected, I'm not saying anything. You're going to win that seat and it's not going to really be a problem. But yeah, if you're in one of those kind of swing states, or you're trying to swing districts and you're trying to upset the Republican, honest to God, I think the only thing I would say is don't be crazy, which is in fact, a crazy position to be in politically.
It's a hard sell. It's a hard sell for these guys.
If all you have to do is not be crazy, it shows you a sign of where we are at politically, but also, where the left has gone. I think people neglect the fact that the Washington Post, of all places, said, I think that this is the most liberal presidential ticket that the country has ever seen. And all the talk is like, oh, people don't like her because she's a woman, or people don't like her because she's black, or people don't like her because no. When you're the most liberal presidential ticket in American history, that is going to make an impact. And so the note that I would have to all Democrat candidates, just don't be that, and maybe you'll have a better chance.
But has the ship sailed? Is the Democrat Party going to go the way of the Whigs? Is there going to be something new that has to be created in its place? Or do you think that they're going to have an opportunity to kind of recalibrate and reform the Democrat Party in kind of like a more old school liberal ideology?
I think this is a question for both parties and considering kind of the system that we exist in, I have always been a proponent of changing the party that you most align with. The infrastructure that is set up by the two parties is pretty hard to dismantle. And, you can say whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. That just is. And so if somebody wants to change fundamentally, the go-to choice has always been like, well, third party, like the Libertarians, the Green Party. The infrastructure just isn't there, and by that I mean like the fundraising, the seats in different committees that would advocate for positions that the third party would have. It's just super difficult. So if you're going to actually attempt to do something different, my recommendation would be to just go and change the party. And we saw the Republican Party adapt beautifully. A lot of people that we know together were instrumental in changing the Republican Party and the way they go after campaigns. And I think that's what Democrats are going to need to do, rather than kind of like fizzle and kind of try this rebirth into something else. The infrastructure is too difficult to dismantle and topple at this point, I think.
Can they do that with the people that they have in place already, or is there going to have to be somebody new that comes onto the scene? Like I look at the farm system for the Democrats, and you see guys like Josh Shapiro or Wes Moore, and I don't see any personalities that I think could reform and recalibrate the party to that extent.
To answer your question, in short, no. No, they can't. You know what I think is interesting, and this is a little bit off topic of the question, but I feel like, I don't know if anybody's talking about this. Do you know who were the most excited people in the country that Donald Trump won? Josh Shapiro and Gavin Newsom in California, maybe even Gretchen Whitmer. Kamala Harris was a bad candidate, and they all knew she was a bad candidate. Nobody duked it out to try and get the nomination when Joe Biden stepped aside. They just said, Kamala, go ahead and go for it. We want a chance to actually run campaigns, and we want a chance to do that in 2028. If Kamala Harris had won and then ran for re-election in 2028, you've got Josh Shapiro, Gavin Newsom, and whether or not you like these guys, they are decently capable politicians with a political future, and their eyes are on the presidency. And if Kamala Harris won, they would have been pushed out to irrelevancy in terms of the years that would have gone on. They were livid that Trump lost in 2020. They were super excited that Trump won in 2024 to keep their own political hopes alive.
No, that makes sense. I have this scenario that I've been kicking around in my head, and we're talking about how they're going to have to reform their party. It doesn't seem like anybody waiting in the wings is really going to be that new standard bearer, at least not yet. It is early. Could you see a return to the Democrat Party by somebody like RFK or Tulsi Gabbard to challenge J.D. Vance in 2028? And how do you think that would fly with the left?
So that the last part of your question answers it. I could see it feasibly happening. They got to get through the primary. And right now, like the left of American politics, the people that control the primary are your fringiest 20 to 30% of people. And so to get through a primary, especially on the Democrat side, you've got to pander so hard and tax so hard to the left that I think it would be impossible for somebody like Tulsi or RFK or any other moderate kind of center left, center right, whatever individual to take that mantle in the Democrat Party. I even think Josh Shapiro might have a difficult time getting through the primary, considering that he has said some pretty sane things as of late. And so, yeah, I understand the idea. And if for some reason, I don't know, the Democrats did a crazy thing that they would never do, like push a candidate all the way through to the nomination without anybody having voted for them, if that were to take the place, then yes, then maybe we could see like an RFK or Tulsi Gabbard in the general, but I just don't think they'd make it through the primary.
Short answer, no, never going to happen. I appreciate it. Joe Bob he's one of the best. Funny guy, stand-up comedian, Turning Point USA contributor. How can we keep in touch with you, Joe Bob? Where can we find you?
Jobob, no E. There's not a lot of Joe Bobs out there, and if you see one that's a brown guy, you're like, yeah, that name doesn't fit. That's probably me. On all the social media platforms, pretty easy to find. But dude, thanks for having me. This has been fun.
Yeah. No, I want to get you on more. I think you provide very, very unique insight with your background. I mean, with your background working on campaigns and now the stand-up comedy stuff, the conservative politics. I think that you're a very unique intersection. We definitely want to utilize you a bit more on the show.
Thanks, man. I would love to.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Bob, 1052 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Got a crash. This one's at the Eastern Split. The left two lanes are blocked 40 eastbound right before you get to 2440. Trump transition effort up and running. Tell you about that at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. And you know what Trump said? He said, listen, by the time I'm president-elect, I'll have peace talks going on. And you know what? Promises made, promises kept. Peace talks are happening. I'll tell you the latest with Ukraine and Hamas after Ken's newscast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Trump transition effort up and running. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy reports from D.C.
Sources say the president-elect met yesterday with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and with Elon Musk, two men who are expected to hold senior roles in the next Trump administration. Musk is likely to have a perch overseeing federal spending, and Kennedy says he'd prefer to be something of a White House health czar. The Trump transition team is now sorting through possible picks to fill 4,000 roles in the executive branch, with some 1,200 requiring Senate confirmation.
President-elect Donald Trump inherits Russia's war on Ukraine, and today a top Russian official close to President Putin indicated the Russian government would be willing to negotiate. Tom Sufi Burridge says same goes for a Ukrainian politician close to President Zelensky.
For now, the Russian military, with new support from thousands of North Korean troops, is also on the offensive in Russia's Kursk region, amid indications from the Kremlin that it will try and push Ukrainian forces out of that Russian region before any negotiations can begin about a ceasefire in Ukraine.
Police and mental health professionals in the Florida Panhandle are trying to wrap their heads around a series of murder-suicides, stretching back to midsummer. The cases appear unrelated, but Jim Ryan says they share some common threads.
On June 9th, a man fatally shot his wife and then himself in front of their kids, beginning a string of murder-suicides that continued this week.
It's never happened in Santa Rosa County.
Sheriff Bob Johnson says the victim in nearly every case was a woman in an abusive relationship. He's pleading with people in that situation to seek help.
If you don't take that first step, this is how it can end.
Including the June incident, Santa Rosa County, Florida has had 9 people die in murder-suicides.
Anyone dealing with suicidal thoughts or domestic violence can call 988 for help. Firefighters trying to get control of the more than 14,000-acre mountain fire in Southern California. It's destroyed homes.
Night-flying helicopters have conducted water and retardant drops. The wind-driven fire has forced more than 10,000 people to leave their homes, including Fred Von Schrader of Camarillo Heights.
I came home and then looked out the window and saw flames and then just had to immediately jump into panic mode.
The strong winds that have allowed the fire to grow rapidly are expected through at least this afternoon. Governor Newsom has secured federal aid to help local agencies pay for their response efforts. Blake Trolley, ABC News Los Angeles.
And in money news, Rebecca Jarvis.
The Fed is widely expected to cut interest rates by 0.25 percentage points later today, bringing interest rates down to 4.5% to 4.75%. And that could help drive some borrowing costs lower, particularly in areas like credit cards.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
11:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, Donald Trump, he makes these wild promises. They're never going to come true. Can you believe that orange madman said that he would have peace talks before he even gets inaugurated? Can you believe that? Yeah, I can. Newsweek published this yesterday after I got off the air. Hamas calls for immediate end to war after Trump election win. Oh. Is that a good thing? Is that it? I think it's good to have strong leadership. I think it's good to have a leader in there that people understand when you F around, you just may find out. And I think that everybody in the world is on notice now that there's a big orange man coming back to town. And he's pissed. He's pissed. Newsweek has the story. A senior Hamas official has called for an immediate end to Israel's war against the group in the Gaza Strip and a plan to achieve Palestinian statehood, remarks shared with Newsweek in the wake of former President Trump's election victory. The election of Trump as the 47th president of the United States is a private matter for the Americans. Hamas Political Bureau member and spokesperson Bassem Naim told Newsweek. But Palestinians look forward to an immediate cessation of the aggression against our people, especially in Gaza, and look for assistance in achieving their legitimate rights of freedom, independence, and the establishment of their independent self-sovereign state with Jerusalem as its capital. But a lot of this stuff isn't going to happen the way they want it to happen. But the fact that they're just hearing that Trump is coming back and they're saying we want to end the war now, that's huge. That's huge. And Zelensky has also received a phone call from Trump and says that things are going good. Yesterday, he put out a message congratulating Trump on his victory. He said, I recall our great meeting with President Trump back in September when we discussed in detail the Ukraine-U.S. strategic partnership, the victory plan, and ways to put an end to Russian aggression against Ukraine. I appreciate President Trump's commitment to the peace through strength approach in global affairs. This is exactly the principle that can practically bring just peace in Ukraine closer. I think we're going to have peace in Ukraine very soon. You know, there was a peace deal there a few years back, and then Joe Biden, Boris Johnson, and the elites of the world said, no peace. But it could have been there. Trump wants peace. I think Trump will get peace. In the meantime, Joe Biden is trying to send more money to Ukraine. Why not, right? Why not? He's trying to get some money over there before he's out of office. Just a few more bills. What's another billy on top, right? That's what Joe Biden wants to do. We cannot get Donald Trump back in office quick enough. I wonder if Joe Biden would just like to cash out the remaining days of his PTO and let Trump start early. That would be fantastic. Did you see the meme going around? It's hilarious. Speaking of ending your job early, just early resignation. There's a meme, and Donald Trump Jr. posted this. It's Donald Trump handing in his resignation letter at McDonald's. Have you seen it? It's like, please accept this letter as my formal notice of resignation from my position at McDonald's, effective Monday, January 20th, 2025. During my tenure here, I've enjoyed the opportunity to serve our customers and contribute to this fast-paced environment of this establishment. From flipping burgers to making fries and managing the drive-thru, I've learned a lot about the restaurant business and the value of hard work.
That's pretty good. It's
like this whole letter. If you want to see it, it's on my Instagram page at Chris Hand on Air. The memes have been fantastic. They have.
One of my favorite ones is it's a picture of Trump serving somebody at the window at the drive-thru, and he goes, "Sorry, I won't be here too much longer. I just got a good promotion. It's the best promotion. Starts in January. I'm really excited."
It's so funny. It's so funny. We were just talking with Joe Bob a little bit ago, and Joe Bob, he's a smart guy. I really enjoyed that conversation. But you know, is there a dollar value on memes? I think that there has to be. I don't know how you quantify it, but I think that you can look at 2016, 2020, and 2024. And you can definitely point to memes helping you win in 2016 and in 2020. And in 2024. Not so much in 2020. I don't think we won the meme war in 2020. I think the meme war was divided between COVID and the presidential election. I think that actually played a massive part in the online conversation. But, I mean, this past go-round, the memes were on our side every step of the way. how do you quantify that? This stranglehold by the legacy media is slowly crippling and disintegrating before our eyes, and so we're going to see the fruits of the meme war here very, very soon. Very soon. Zelensky looking for more money before Trump leaves office. There's a lot happening. A lot happening very quickly. It's one of those things. I'm still basking in the glow of the victory and enjoying that win, but we're going to have a lot of work to get to come next week. I told my wife, I said, yeah, I'm going to celebrate through Friday. And then next week, it's going to be back to the grind. Let's save a country. You know, the leftists, the radical leftists are taking no days off. They're already demonizing Trump as best they can. As best they can. They're trying to demonize Trump voters as best they can. That's the strategy. That's the strategy. And David Axelrod, you know, he's on CNN saying, listen, the only reason Trump won is racism and sexism.
It wasn't a mandate to wantonly use the power of the presidency to punish his political enemies. It wasn't a mandate to help enrich himself and his friends. It wasn't a mandate to single out groups in our society for scorn or worse. You know, I'd love to hear from Van on this, but let's be honest about this, okay? Let's be absolutely blunt about it. There were appeals to racism in this campaign, and there is racial bias in this country, and there is sexism in this country, and anybody who thinks that that did not in any way impact on the outcome of this race is wrong.
It's all racism and sexism, says David Axelrod. If you don't believe that, well, you're wrong, because how could it be anything else? How could it be anything else? You know, there's actually, I'm surprised that the anchors on these leftist networks aren't saying this. There's an alarming amount of racist and sexist in this country. 72,745,817. I didn't know there were that many racists and sexists in the country. You lost the popular vote, and you're going to get on TV and scream racism and sexism. Do they understand how weak that sounds? It's so weak. It's so weak. Meanwhile, Republicans are jumping on TV, and they're talking about what they plan to do, where they're going next. RFK Jr. was on MSNBC, and he's saying, guys, I'm getting rid of entire departments at the Food and Drug Administration, and it's music to my ears.
You say clearing out the corruption in your terms. Would that mean clearing out the top-level federal service workers that are currently at the FDA and the CDC?
In some categories, I would say.
What does that look like? Yeah.
In some categories of workers, there are entire departments, like the nutrition departments at FDA, that have to go. That are not doing their job. They're not protecting our kids. Why do we have Fruit Loops in this country that have 18 or 19 ingredients, and you go to Canada and it's got 2 or 3?
Would you eliminate any of the agencies?
To eliminate the agencies, as long as it requires congressional approval, I wouldn't be doing that. I can get the corruption out of the agencies. This is what I've been doing for 40 years. I've sued all those agencies. I have a PhD in corporate corruption, and that's what I do. And once they're not corrupt, once Americans are getting good science and are allowed to make their own choices, they're going to get a lot healthier.
I love to hear it. I'm surprised they aired that on MSNBC. You know, a lot of these networks, the majority of their money are coming from these big pharmaceutical companies. I'm surprised that they let that air on MSNBC. So they're going to demonize us as supporters and Trump as the man and his cabinet as best they can over these next few months. And just know that they are beholden to their advertisers. And a lot of their advertisers are big pharma. And when you hear RFK Jr. say what he's saying, we're going to gut entire departments at the FDA. They're not protecting our kids. Why does Fruit Loops in our country have 18 or 19 ingredients, all chemicals? Canada has 2 or 3. These are companies that do a lot of advertising on mainstream media, ruffling a lot of feathers A lot of feathers. And you know what? Good. The Gateway Pundit has this story. Panic mode. Top 5 big pharma CEOs hold emergency teleconference after Trump's landslide victory threatens their grip on America. They're terrified. And they're terrified because of guys like RFK Jr. After former President Trump's massive election victory, the top executives of Big Pharma were reportedly scrambling to protect their influence over U.S. healthcare. Sources indicate that the heads of 5 major pharmaceutical companies held an emergency teleconference on Wednesday to address the potential fallout from a Trump administration that has vowed to disrupt Big Pharma's hold on America. This is what is just so cool, man. There were so many people that voted for Trump, can't stand him, but they understand how evil the pharmaceutical industry is. And they knew that getting a guy like RFK to go in there was essentially one of our only hopes as a nation. And these executives are terrified. So there's a New Jersey assemblyman. This guy's an advisor to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. His name is Jamel Hawley. And he put this on X yesterday. Sources tell me top 5 CEOs of pharmaceutical companies are holding an emergency teleconference at 1 p.m. A lawyer has confirmed that everyone is in a state of panic. And obviously, this emergency meeting is a direct result of RFK, a well-known critic of all of these corporations and all of these corruption in the health industry and the food industry. He's expected to be appointed by Trump to lead a comprehensive overhaul of federal health agencies, including the FDA and the CDC. They're terrified. And they'll demonize him for this. They will. They'll demonize him for it. And you know what? RFK keeps going. He has a vision, he says, to root out corporate influence, restore scientific integrity, and prioritize the health of the American people over big pharma profits.
Donald Trump has said that he would put you in charge of the public health agencies. What exactly does that look like?
Well, he's been very specific in what he said. He wants me to do 3 things. 1, clean up the corruption of the agencies, particularly the conflicts of interest that have turned those agencies into captive agencies for the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry, the other industries that they're supposed to be regulating.
That's huge. So you got to get rid of that corruption, because you'll see the revolving door where, the Pfizer CEO is now on the board over at the FDA, or this member was on the board for Moderna, and now he just happens to have a nice cushy job over at the CDC. You see that all the time. That's step 1.
Number 2, to return those agencies to the gold standard science, the empirically based, evidence-based medicine that they were famous for when I was a kid.
That's what we need. We don't need these agencies demonizing ivermectin when it's a drug that's won a Nobel Peace Prize, and a lot of people question, are you demonizing it because it's so cheap? Right? We don't need that. We need actual research.
And number 3, to make America healthy again, to end the chronic disease epidemic. And President Trump has told me that he wants to see measurable, concrete results within 2 years in terms of a measurable diminishment in chronic disease among America's kids.
That's what we need. That's what we need. And there's a list of things that I think that RFK Jr. could do. A huge list. And, it shouldn't be a big ask. It shouldn't. But there's a couple things that we should do. Maybe take away the vaccine injury exemption for these companies. They can't be sued by people injured by vaccines. Maybe we should stop the revolving door between these pharmaceutical companies and these government agencies. Maybe we should get the poison out of our food. It shouldn't be a big ask. It shouldn't. And I think with Robert F. Kennedy in there and Donald Trump giving him his full support, we're going to see actual concrete improvements in our lifetime. It's insane. And I'm here for it. Lord knows we need it. We need it. You look at a picture of a beach in America 50 years ago, and you tell me how many overweight people you see. Then you look at a picture of a beach today, and you tell me how many overweight people you see. I don't think this is just because we've gotten lazy as a nation. I think it's because our food supply has been poisoned, and it's a lot more profitable for you to be overweight for the medical industry. Honestly. RFK is going to get in there, and he is ready to go. I'm here for it. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and it is that time of the year. Have you been kicking on your heat? Well, you're going to be soon, and if your relatives are coming to your house for Thanksgiving dinner, you want to make sure that place is comfy, cozy, no matter what. If we have an unseasonably warm Thanksgiving or if we have a cold Thanksgiving, no matter what it is, you want to make sure that you're ready to go. Busy Bee right now wants to make sure your home is in-law and relative ready, and they have a limited number of 14 SEER 1.5 to 3 ton split heat pumps for only $69.95, including labor, equipment, material, and warranty. This system offers a great balance of energy efficiency, performance, and year-round comfort for residential homes. You're going to need some hot water. You want your hot water working the best? How about $750 off an upright tanked water heater with a circulation kit? You can get this right now from our friends at Busy Bee, and you can also get a free package upgrade for air duct cleaning. Buy a basic air duct cleaning package, and they'll upgrade you for free. So you buy the middle tier, you get the premium tier. Lastly, you can give a free Beehive Club membership to your in-laws. You must currently have a Beehive membership to qualify for the additional free Beehive membership for your in-laws, but Busy Bee will do that for you. Call them today. Busy Bee is bringing families together for satisfaction guaranteed. Call Busy Bee HVAC, your Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com.
President Biden had a few things to say about President-elect Trump's victory. We'll tell you about it here at 11:30. In fact, I'll let you hear it on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
He said, "Whoa, where am I? Where am I?"
And then he shook hands with a ghost.
Yeah, I gotta love it. We're going to be looking back on these memes fondly one day. Once we get over the pain of the last 3.5 years, I think we'll look back and be like, that was funny. All right, so the ticker on CNN after Biden gets off stage is anger boils over inside the Democrat Party that Biden didn't step down sooner. Jeez Louise. I'm starting to feel bad for him. Give the guy a break. Give the guy a break. It's Biden's fault. It's everyone's fault but Kamala's.
They used to be so proud of him. and now he's
he was
the
sharp as a
scorned
tack.
son.
He was running circles around the staff.
Top notch.
Yeah, well, now he's part of the problem. Kamala did nothing wrong. But they have a new objective inside the White House, and it's Trump-proofing everything.
Good morning, Bill. The revered Democratic campaign consultant David Plouffe, who was brought in to Wilmington to try to help Harris seal the deal when she took over for Joe Biden, has deleted his account on X after appearing to blame Joe Biden for Harris's loss on Tuesday and for setting the vice president up to fail. Part of what he wrote is, "We dug out of a deep hole, but not enough. A devastating loss. Thanks for being in the arena, all of you." The sentiment with that and everything else around here from Harris loyalists has shifted from Joe Biden's legacy as a selfless patriot is cemented because he stepped aside to let Harris beat Trump, to Joe Biden was so unpopular his VP was doomed from the get-go. That is according to a report in Politico with this. "We ran the best campaign we could, considering Joe Biden was president," grumbled one Harris aide granted anonymity to speak freely.
It is pretty fun to watch that. I mean, they were crying on TV about how stunning and brave Joe Biden was for stepping down. It was the bravest thing that he ever did. He was such a selfless hero for stepping down. And now it's all Joe Biden's fault, and they have to Trump-proof the White House.
Joe Biden is the singular reason Kamala Harris and Democrats lost tonight.
That's it. He's the only reason. There's nothing else to do with Kamala Harris's loss.
Exit polls don't reflect that Joe Biden was the singular reason that Harris lost. And some Democrats who did win this week are imploring their colleagues to drop the bitterness quickly or else.
One thing I don't think is constructive is to get into the blame game, blaming certain individuals for things that could have been done or should have been done or would have been done. None of that will help us rebuild for 2026 and 2028.
That's Rep. Brendan Boyle. He's a Democrat out of Pennsylvania. Oh, the blame game won't help. By the way, it's also Joe Biden's fault, the campaign staffer's fault, our campaign manager's fault, our advisor's fault. It is everybody's fault. You know, I feel like the scarecrow when they ask, which way do you go? And he's like, well, we could go this way or that way or this way. You know, our arms are tangled. Only an octopus could point more fingers.
Kamala Harris can't just go off the grid because she is still the vice president for another 3 months. Her office today, though, is telling us she's going to have internal meetings and briefings with staff that are all closed press. So we do not expect to see her in the Rose Garden with President Biden in 2 hours, where he will explain what comes next with the transfer of power, and also hopefully a little bit more about this invitation that he extended to Donald Trump to come here to the White House at some point, just to scope out how things might have changed in the 4 years since he moved out.
Is it just me? Like I picture Trump walking in and being like, "Wow, what's that smell in here? It didn't smell like that when I was in the office. That's a new smell. Not sure I like it. What's that smell?" That's all I want to picture. Trump walking and going, "What's that smell in here? It smells awful."
Smells like old man and mothballs.
The readout you gave all of us on that phone call yesterday was pretty interesting. Magnanimous, I would even suggest, between the two men. Do you have anything more as to when Trump arrives there, when this might happen? And do you know the last time that Harris and Biden had a conversation?
The vice president and the president did talk on the phone at some point yesterday before she conceded. We don't know exactly what it was about, and we know that the Biden-Trump meeting is being ironed out. The date is being ironed out with their two staffs. But it's going to be really interesting to hear how President Biden threads the needle today about what comes next with this peaceful transfer of power, because that's not going to happen until January. And it's not like Joe Biden is just going to stop trying to implement his agenda. You've got Jen O'Malley-Dillon from the campaign that just lost talking about how the work is about to begin to Trump-proof the administration. Joe Biden next week is going to head to South America. He's going to try to put his fingerprints on as many different things as possible before a president with a completely different worldview comes in and tries to undo it.
Well, you know, my final thoughts about Joe Biden trying to put his fingers on everything would just be hide your kids. That's what I would say. They're going to try and Trump-proof the White House. Trump-proof the White House. Yeah, you know what? We're going to be making America great again, whether you like it or not. It's 11:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and right now we've got a wreck eastbound 40 right there before the 40-24 split, and it is backing up the eastbound loop on the east leg and the south leg. President Biden at the White House today said he spoke with President-elect Donald Trump yesterday and congratulated him on his victory and that he'd direct his entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful transition. Biden then saying the loss doesn't mean Democrats have been defeated, calling for them to get back up.
A defeat does not mean we are defeated. We lost this battle. The America of your dreams is calling for you to get back up.
President-elect Donald Trump's transition effort is up and running. Sources say the president-elect met yesterday with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Elon Musk, two men expected to hold senior roles in the next Trump administration. The Federal Reserve widely expected to cut interest rates another quarter point when it wraps up its meeting today. That could help drive down borrowing costs for things like credit cards. Here's Rebecca Jarvis.
The average APR right now is about 25%. This Fed rate cut, it could move things a little bit lower in 1 to 2 billing cycles, but you can also take matters into your own hands. Call that credit card company, ask them to lower your rate. It can actually work, and especially if you've received anything in the mail with a lower APR on it, tell them about that.
Tonight in Nashville, Metro Council will discuss processing rape kits faster. A resolution calls for sending $250,000 to Metro Police to help outsource sexual assault kits to private vendors. The state did it and says they're processing kits 3 times faster. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 11:33 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is that time of the year when we are called upon to be thankful. I know you're feeling a little extra thankful today. I am as well. But I also want to talk about something I'm thankful for all year long, and that's our sponsors. I mean, it is commercial radio. We're a business, and we have to run commercials to keep this thing going. But our sponsors are so good, man. And if they're advertising here, it's because they are unafraid and unapologetically patriots. And that is so true, especially with one of our favorite sponsors, the Glock Store. We're allowed to freely express our opinions here, let you express yours, and it's because of our great sponsors that help us, like our guys at the Glock Store. Lenny McGill moved his entire operation to Middle Tennessee from San Diego in 2020. And it's been a great 4 years. I don't know if you realize it, but the Glock Store, I mean, basically they do the overwhelming majority of business online at glockstore.com. But that beautiful retail showroom here in Nashville, the incredible, totally unique Shoot 270 shooting rooms, those are the outward-facing part of the business. It's a business that employs 100 Nashvillians. So this November and all year long, I am absolutely thankful to support Lenny McGill and thankful for his support and the support of the Glock Store on my show. And if you're listening to me, you should be thankful for guys like the Glock Store too. So let them know the next time you visit that you're thankful for them. Please do. When you go in there for a training session, just look them dead in the eye and say, thank you. I appreciate it. It's the Glock Store, where you should be getting all your firearms and all of your training. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere, online at glockstore.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
11:38 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Donald Trump not even back in office yet. Hamas wants to end the war. Zelensky's having good conversations. You can almost smell peace in the air. Almost. We're getting there. We're getting so close. So close. In fact, we're so close that some unhinged, deranged leftists who have a little bit of power are getting out there in front of podiums, and they're melting down. Leticia James is one of those. The AG over there in New York, Leticia. She says New York is going to fight back if Trump unleashes retribution because she's a guardian of the law. When she talks here, she's just so sanctimonious, and she's talking with such a fake accent to sound just so official. It drives me a bit nuts. And also, I don't know if you've seen the video. I'll retweet the video on my thing, on my Twitter account, at Chris Hand on Air, if you want to see it. But I'll tell you what, before I could even get into the video, I didn't know she was cross-eyed. Have you seen that? I don't know how I missed that. But, like, I'm watching it, and again, I'm not trying to be a bully. I'm not trying to gloat, but I'm like, who are you looking at? Who are you looking at? Really threw me off. You would think with all that Trump hating money that you get as these people, right, with their campaign funds and all that you should get that cleaned up. But I digress. Leticia James says New York is ready to fight back.
So here we are. We've studied their platforms. We've identified certain possibilities, fact patterns. We've created contingency plans. So no matter what the next administration throws at us, we're ready.
Do you hear like that fake sanctimonious, we are ready. Here we are. It's like, give me a break.
We're ready to respond to their attacks. We're ready to respond to any attempts to cut or eliminate any funding to the great state of New York, as the governor outlined. So despite what has happened on the national stage, we will continue to stand tall in the face of injustice, revenge, or retribution.
Not retribution. So we're going to stand tall. We've been studying them. We know what they're thinking. We know how pro-squirrel they are. And it's just, does she understand how big of a joke she sounds? She sounds like an absolute clown. And then she decides to threaten lawfare against President Trump as if she hasn't already levied that sword against him.
We will continue to protect our most vulnerable and marginalized amongst us, because it is my sworn duty and responsibility to lead that fight, working with the governor of this great state, Kathy Hochul. This is not the time to be fearful, New York, but faithful.
Who's scared? Who's scared of no new wars and cheap gas? Who's scared of peace through strength? Who's scared of a secure southern border? It's not a time to be fearful, New York. It is not. It's not a time to be fearful. I'm not scared. Are you scared? Are you scared, Leticia?
And steadfast, knowing that I, as the Attorney General, along with my entire team, we are guardians of the law. And we are prepared, my friends, to fight back.
Oh yeah, fight back with lawfare that you've already launched against the man, and you're failing. You're a failure. The Department of Justice also has announced that they and Jack Smith are immediately ending their cases against Donald Trump. Oh, so scary, so scary. You know, the Department of Justice and those guys, they can't do it. They can't do it. He's going to be a sitting president, and it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. Leticia James, she might, who knows what New York can do, but Jack Smith, Hack Smith, The guy who got hit by a truck and then still ran a marathon, he's done.
Yeah, Chris, it's not a surprise that these cases can't go forward when Donald Trump takes office. What's interesting here is that the DOJ is moving to end them even before he takes office, citing the long-standing DOJ policy that sitting presidents can't be prosecuted. And there was some thought that maybe Special Counsel Jack Smith was going to sprint through the finish line, was going to work up until the last day, force Trump to fire him, wait till a new attorney general was appointed. But that does not appear to be the thinking inside the department. The thinking is that these cases can't go forward. There's no reasonable prospect of getting to trial within the 3 months before Donald Trump takes office. These cases are mired in legal issues that would be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court had Donald Trump lost the election. So now that he's won the election, DOJ officials are thinking that, look, there's just no room to move in these cases. And so the sensible thing to do is to figure out a way to wind them down. And it may stem from Donald Trump's lawyers filing some kind of motion or making a request saying in light of the DOJ policy, you need to drop these cases. Now, there are a few wrinkles here, one of which is that the classified documents case includes 2 other defendants who are not subject to that policy. And it's been dismissed, obviously, but that dismissal has been appealed. And the DOJ considers that ruling to be very bad law that it would like to be overturned. So that appeal may continue in some form. But the reality is that Donald Trump is not going to be a part of these cases. And what this means, I mean, we knew this, right? But just coming to grips with what this means intellectually is that Donald Trump is not likely to be held accountable on these very serious federal criminal charges that many people believe were worse than what Richard Nixon did or was accused of doing in Watergate. Now,
it's just so funny to hear MSNBC with their spin on the end of it. Now, many people think that this is the worst thing that we have seen since Genghis Khan raping and pillaging in the mountain ranges of East Asia. It's like, just name a terrible person. It's like, oh, we can't believe we haven't seen anything like this since Vlad the Impaler. It's just, it's so disheartening that the lawfare can't continue. The lawfare is ending. Judge Merchan in New York, to kind of circle back to New York, he's weighing dropping Trump's felony conviction after the election win. That Manhattan judge, Merchan, overseeing Trump's hush money case, is now considering whether to dismiss the felony conviction following Trump's historic reelection. We already know that the sentencing had been postponed. Is expected to be decided very soon if the conviction will hold. This is according to CNN. Trump's legal team is urging that the sentencing should never happen due to his status as president-elect, arguing he deserves protections similar to those of a sitting president against state-level prosecutions. Former prosecutor Nima Rahmani noted, now that Trump has won, his criminal problems will go away. And I would just like to point out the criminal problems would have never been there if he wasn't running in the first place. They tried as hard as they could to get this guy sidelined. And you know what? It didn't work. It didn't work. We got to win graciously, they say. Don't gloat. But, I mean, after everything we've seen thrown at this man, how are we supposed to not gloat just a little bit? And when I see stuff like this, Judge Merchan and Hack Smith and Leticia James, it's like the inner gloating is really bubbling to the surface. And it's really trying to get cut loose. I can't help it. I want to gloat. I want to gloat. I'm trying not to. But believe me when I tell you, I want to. I want to gloat. I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it. We need to be able to enjoy this, at least for a couple days. Donald Trump Jr., he is enjoying it, and he was talking about the win on Fox News.
Yeah, they don't get it. They live in some sort of vacuum that they just don't understand. It's absolutely ludicrous.
He's talking about the left not being able to wrap their heads around Donald Trump's win.
If you look at the failures, there's not a single metric where we're better off today than we were 4 years ago, economically, geopolitically, or otherwise. Right. We went from a time of peace to a time of war. We went from a time of prosperity to a time of poverty. And everyone feels it. And, this year was very different. You guys know me. I'm on the ground. I'm all over, sort of real America. And I saw that, the amount of African American men that were taking selfies with me. It just, through the roof. Per capita, it may have been the biggest demographic that I'd seen, and that wasn't something that was happening in 16. 2020 was different. That was sort of an anomaly year where COVID was weaponized, and it was insane. Hispanics. It was really something special to see. It was a really unified party. People who just want to put America first. They want to work on the future for their children. They want to end the insanity in schools. They don't want men competing against women in sports. The left has really lost their minds. And I think there's still a lot of moderate Democrats out there in America. They just have no representation. They have no one that's willing to speak for them, because I don't think you can get too far in the Democrat Party without embracing the radical policies that you see each and every day that, frankly, no one in the real world actually buys into or believes.
No, and he's absolutely right. And I think that those moderate Democrats out there, the independents, the moderates, I think they actually turned out for Trump because of that lack of representation from their own party. It's that thing, they didn't abandon the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party abandoned them. But the work begins. And there's going to be a lot of work to do. We got to get this country back on the right track. I am feeling that this nation has been blessed, and we got people in a position to do it. And that feels good, man. That feels very, very good. We're going to check in with Matt Murphy, see what he's got coming up on Murphy's Show when we get back. It's 11:49 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
11:56 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Matt Murphy in studio. I just asked this question off air. I'll ask it on air. Does DeSantis beat Kamala Harris?
You know, it's a tough one, only because the dynamics change. I mean, I'm a big believer in the butterfly effect, right? Butterfly flaps its wings over there in Indonesia, and that affects the weather over here. So, I mean, there's so many different dynamics. But here's what I would say. I don't see Ron DeSantis having the success. I mean, even if he wins, I think it's a much narrower victory than Donald Trump dispatched. I mean, but you don't bring out the people that Donald Trump bring out. This was the point that I was making. I had a couple of guys in town last weekend, and they're both conservatives, both Republicans, but they're both kind of squishy on Trump. And they were like, oh, man, Ron DeSantis would just wipe the floor with her. And I was like, I don't believe that I think you have an underestimation of the sheer millions of people that have engaged because of our man, Donald J. Trump.
And Trump, I mean, the people are shocked about the black vote turning out for him the way it did, and I'm not surprised at that at all. Trump is hip-hop. He's been hip-hop for a long time, and he only started being a racist in 2016. I don't know if a DeSantis could mobilize that kind of support that Trump did.
I mean, the one thing that liberals hung on him prior to his running for the presidency was the Central Park Five, which can be discussed and described and explained. But other than that, he was a darling of all of the mainstream media.
Yep.
And they loved the guy.
They loved him.
They clamored to get on The Apprentice. I mean, so, yeah, it was just because he came out as a Republican. Had he been a Democrat, they would have still loved him.
I got another theoretical for you.
All right.
The Democrat Party is going to have to rebuild, right? You're going to have to. They lost the middle. Is there any chance we see a Democrat return to the party to become the nominee in 2028, a la Tulsi Gabbard or RFK?
I think you would have to see a complete restructuring of the Democrat Party from Washington, D.C. The Democrat Party has become the party of the elite. And the elites, if they are making the decisions, it really goes back to how much decision-making power you believe the Obamas have, not a week ago, but today. Right? A week ago, we know that the Obamas pulled the trigger along with Nancy Pelosi on the entire Biden thing.
But don't you think Obama has ruined all of his political clout by going out there and repeating debunked hoaxes like the Very Fine People and putting his reputation on the line for Kamala?
I don't even know.
Is he a kingmaker?
I've said, no, I don't think he is. I think Barack Obama destroyed all the Democrats in his path except for Barack Obama. I mean, you look at what Democrats held when he took office in 2008 in terms of governorships and state legislatures and county commissions and then House of Representatives and Senate. All of that has been destroyed because of his, and I think it goes all the way back to we want to fundamentally transform America. Some would suggest that was just a line. I think that was his call for a movement, and that movement has destroyed the Democrat Party. And it's helped America because I think it's helped create clear-eyed thinkers when it comes to what the Democrats truly want. They want power and control.
Yep. 100%. What do we got coming up on the show today?
We got Tommy Vallejos with the Latinos for Tennessee organization. Right. They were with Donald Trump last week at that meeting at Mar-a-Lago. They're going to talk about that meeting and what Donald Trump means for the Latino community. And Gary Palmer's coming up. He is in leadership in the House of Representatives. He's going to give us a House update to make sure that we secure the House.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. Murphy's in next. It's 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.